Let's see here. We have a new show, an animated series just dropped Wednesday. All 6 episodes are out, ready to be viewed. Takes about 50 minutes to watch. Basically, it's 2 stories. The 6 stories are put chronologically, but they follow 2 characters, one being Ahsoka Tano from her birth to, I don't want to spoil it, but post episode 3. And then it tells also the story of Count Dooku from the beginning or middle of his training of Qui-Gon up through Dooku's fall. So
Why wouldn't you want to spoil it? That's literally what we deal in spoilers. What are we going to talk about if we don't spoil it?
So Dooku kills Yaddle, and Ahsoka kills an Inquisitor. First of all, a sweet-looking Inquisitor. I'm kind of like, why did we get that one for about 10 seconds?
That Inquisitor reminded me of the bad guys from the Dark Crystal.
Oh. Never seen it.
What? What?
Never seen it, bro. I think Kyle tried to show it to me one time, and I'm like, this is weird.
the original one is weird, and I've never actually made it all the way through. But the new reboot show on Netflix, we watched the whole thing, and we're fascinated by it.
Oh, okay.
And Mark Hamill is in it, so I mean, it's worth it.
Is that the one with David Bowie?
No.
The old one?
That's Labyrinth.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Labyrinth. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Both Muppety, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've never seen Labyrinth either.
Or Willow, for that matter. I don't know anything about Willow.
Warwick Davis, just Mr. Ewok himself, is in it. Okay, back to Tales of the Jedi. So, I told you before we started recording, I think, I watched all 6 this evening with my 8-year-old, 5-year-old, and 3-year-old.
Oh.
And some of the parts were a little dark and a little mature, maybe. I was like, it's a cartoon. I mean, it should be fine. But even in the very first episode with Ahsoka as a baby, when the mom is just hunting the kangaroo deer thing and is like going to kill it, even my sensitive 5-year-old son blurted out, I can't watch, and turned away. And I was like, oh, maybe you guys shouldn't watch this. But
that's okay. She's a baby.
Yeah.
Can't be that bad.
But I thought that was a good first episode. I like seeing the village there and doing a little bit of world building for them. And I obviously we know that Ahsoka was going to survive that encounter, but my kids were very concerned that baby got taken by that huge saber-toothed tiger looking thing.
And what type of people, when they see the cat run with the child, they're like, stop, we must stay here. I'm like, go after the thing.
Yeah, except it's kind of like in nature when, like, if a mother has a cub of some sort and a predator gets that cub, it's like, what are you going to do? But I guess the blasters, I guess, could take it down, but the mom was using the blasters and cut the whole thing's arm up. Do you see all its wounds? And I'm like, that thing wasn't going down. It was an apex predator.
A fine episode, right? Ahsoka lives.
Right. It was fun to watch it with my kids because they didn't know that they don't know who Ahsoka is. So they were very concerned. And I was just sitting there going, yeah, she's probably going to die. They're probably going to eat that baby.
Yeah, to them, they're like, why are they showing this on the first episode? Isn't this a bit dark for an animation? Next episode is Dooku and Qui-Gon. An interesting kind of see it's nothing really, I guess the whole thing about Dooku's arc, and we can just talk about all 3 episodes now, is Dooku's arc seems to be the Jedi are at fault for a lot of the problems that are happening because of their protection of the Senate and the Republic through his eyes, right?
Right.
His eyes see all these atrocities that the senators and the Republic is doing, and the Jedi are either A, doing nothing about it, or B, actively helping or not doing enough to stop, and then in because they're not doing enough, then they're helping destroy people, destroy lives and planets.
Right. I think that we see in that very first episode when he's taps into the dark side and he's force choking the senator, one of the things he says is like your corruption has to be weeded out.
Uh-huh.
I think his turn to the dark side is fueled by this idea of the Jedi were so focused on the, you know, in words they were saying, well, we serve the people of the Republic or we serve the Republic or whatever. But in practice, he was saying, no, we're just the Senate's lapdogs.
Yeah.
Whatever the Senate wants us to do, we just go do. And he was seeing this disconnect of, Mace Windu saying, no, we follow the Jedi Council. It's like, well, the Jedi Council is just doing whatever the Senate tells us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And look at, what we're dealing with here. And so it brings up a point that I had kind of forgotten about from the prequel movies, which is the question of, does Dooku know that Darth Sidious is
Palpatine?
Palpatine? Or when does he find that out? Like from the beginning, does he know this? Because Palpatine's like at the head of the bureaucracy of this corrupt bureaucracy. But I guess he's seeing it as Palpatine is trying to change that. I don't know. Like, why is he so on board with Palpatine when the the impetus for his turn to the dark side is that he doesn't agree with the direction of the Republic and the Senate and all that kind of stuff? Because in episode 2, when we first meet Dooku, the whole thing is that he's like leading the separatists. Like he doesn't want anything to do with the Republic. And so I can't remember if that was retconned or what, where it's like, when does he know that Palpatine is playing both sides?
I don't
But
know. The timeline's a little fuzzy for me too.
yeah. Anyway,
Does he
not to
know?
derail it, but
Yeah, because Palpatine takes power during episode 1, which is covered in one of the episodes because it's the death of Qui-Gon and his funeral. So Palpatine's in charge. But yeah, does he know it's Sidious? I think he would know it's Sidious. Huh, that's a good question. I don't know. Huh.
because is Palpatine telling Dooku in episode 2, behind the scenes, hey, go lead the separatist army, and I'm going to have you do that for a while. I'm going to run the Republic. We're going to pretend that we're at war, but we'll actually be at war. But you and I are both kind of pulling the strings here. And then eventually, what? We're going to sacrifice the separatist army and turn this into an empire, and then I'll rule and you'll be my apprentice? Or did he not share that ultimate plan with Dooku and just use Dooku as a pawn?
I would assume I think as soon as he saw Anakin, he thought, well, Anakin's what I really want.
Yeah, that's true.
Not this old guy. I want to be a true master. But yeah, I mean, we can get into. I mean, what is the ultimate plan of the whole Clone Wars anyway? Get a bunch of clones friendly with the Jedi so they can eventually betray them and kill the Jedi in one fell swoop? Is that the whole goal? Because it lasted a long time in order for that to happen. Could have pulled that trigger a long time ago,
It's very true.
But I guess he was just waiting for Anakin to fall before he pulled that trigger.
Great point.
Anyway, uh, I am such a fan of Yaddle. I've always been a huge Yaddle fan. She was my first password many years ago on our Windows XP home computer. Password was Yaddle. She's been my favorite. Love seeing her in this, and was ticked that she died. Also beheaded, it looked like, right? Isn't that what your daughter said?
My daughter, as soon as that happened, she's like, my son was like, "Oh my goodness, did he kill her?" I was like, yes, he did." And then my daughter was like, "He cut off her head." And I was like, "I didn't see that." I'm like, "I don't think it
I
went
didn't see
that
that either.
far." And Emmy was like, "Dad, I saw smoke coming off of her body and I could not see her head." And I'm like, I think it was kind of far away. I think you're just seeing things." I think it's up to interpretation. All right, it's up to interpretation.
And yet again, Yaddle, though, goes out without getting on the comm or anything, quickly saying, Dooku's with Palpatine. That would have
Right.
changed the course of history.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Palpatine is Sidious. He's a Sith Lord. They're together.
I feel like multiple times when I'm watching Star Wars things and a Jedi is getting into a little bit of a pickle, I think to myself, you would think that more Jedi would use the Force creatively to escape situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, I feel like Yaddle has to know and think, I can do more good by getting the heck out of here and alerting the Jedi Council than trying to have this one-on-one interaction to
Take on
to
two. Yeah.
help have a turn of change of heart for Dooku.
And she lifts open the door and goes into the place instead of going out towards her ship.
Yeah. Very strange choices. At
Oh,
that point, I
Yaddle.
felt like she was almost probably already, she had been crushed.
Yeah.
I don't think that she was in any state to get back to the ship. But yeah, she does do the barrel roll forward, like at least barrel roll backwards and give yourself a chance.
Oh, Grogu's mother.
But then the yeah, but then the whole time you think to yourself too, Palpatine didn't even join in the fight, and so she probably was doomed anyway because at any second he could have probably stepped in as well
Yeah.
and didn't. But it was more a test for Dooku, like prove your loyalty and kill her.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like I really liked that episode because we got to see Dooku interacting with Qui-Gon and we kept getting these time jumps of, what was going on um, across all three of Dooku's episodes, I mean,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
kind of his turn and then,
The
you
death
know,
of Qui-Gon.
death of Qui-Gon and it's good the funeral's going to be on Naboo and he's like, I'm not going. And anyway, uh, I think this is obviously, I'm assuming this is canon. Like these shows are canon, and we should be taking this as the new canon for Yaddle's death and things like that. And her even saying that she gave up her seat on the council because she agreed with Dooku that mistakes had been made or whatever. Because I know a lot of people, obviously, before they came up with a bunch of this backstory, Yaddle was in episode 1, and then you never see her again.
Yeah.
And you're
Uh-huh.
like,
You
what
don't even
happened?
see her on Naboo. You're like, the rest of the Jedi Council's here, including an extra Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, so it just becomes like a what happened to Yaddle? Where is she? And I don't know. As far as I know, there was no other explanation of like an off-screen death or anything like this. So I feel like this episode is now the new canon of Count Dooku killed Yaddle.
Yeah. I believe his Dooku's master was Yoda, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. Um. Okay, then we go back to an Ahsoka episode. This Ahsoka episode, the middle one was kind of, I guess, just setting up Clone Wars season 7. I guess answering the question, how did Ahsoka beat all those clone troopers? Well, it's
Yeah.
because Anakin trained her one day, you know?
I will say that at the end of that one kept doing time jumps as well. And what was funny about watching it with kids was my kids were not super perceptive about those time jumps. So they were getting very confused.
Oh, I was getting confused too, especially at the very end. I was like, wait a second. Oh, I see what I see what
Right.
happened here.
But even the one of like the first time she's doing the training exercise, and then all of a sudden the next time she has two lightsabers, and Calvin was like, "She has two lightsabers now? Where'd she get that one?" I'm like, "This
Oh,
is
I
like,"
didn't even catch on. I didn't even catch that.
I'm like, "This is years later. Like this isn't even." But he thought it was like literally she got stunned and woke back up, and she's trying again one more time.
Two lightsabers.
And then at the end, yeah, they're like, what happens? We want to see what happens. And I'm like, that's like a whole nother show. And so like, we want to watch that show. I'm like, well, it's 7 seasons long.
Yeah, it'll
So
take a while.
we got to start from the beginning, I guess.
You can just start with the last 3 episodes of season 7, I guess, right?
So true. But yeah, I felt like it was kind of like, all right, like seeing how she trained with Anakin, and Anakin was so perceptive that the traditional Jedi temple test that the most powerful Jedi masters of the galaxy, Master Yoda, 900 years of tried and true tests that he's used for 900 years to train Padawans. Anakin's like, this test sucks. This doesn't teach you anything. You're gonna die if you don't, do the test that I create.
And they did a trope that I hate where they go off in secret to talk. They're so concerned about people watching them. They're speaking. Camera pans back 10 feet away. Yoda and Obi-Wan are standing there watching. Oh, we heard the whole thing.
But we saw a little cameo from Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah, that was
there.
cool. Kanan. Uh-huh. Yep.
And I was just waiting for Freddie Prinze Jr.'s 50-year-old man voice to come out of that kid.
And the I can't remember his name, the old guy that was in the Fortress Inquisitorius.
Yes. I don't know his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was
He's
there.
the guy that thumped his staff to turn the droids on and off or whatever.
And then her last episode was interesting.
The best Ahsoka episode.
Yes. Yes. Interesting in the fact that I think it broke some of the stories that the Ahsoka book put out.
Oh.
And I read that book 7 years ago, so it's not really fresh in my mind. But the fact that, I think an Inquisitor is in that book that she fights with for a while. And in this story, it's just like, and here's an Inquisitor, and she kills it, pretty quickly.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've never read that book. But that's interesting you say that, because I did see a tweet about Tales of the Jedi today where somebody was saying like Dave Filoni like breaking his own canon or whatever, like whatever. Obviously we know Dave Filoni, Ahsoka is
his baby,
and he'll do anything and everything to insert Ahsoka into all facets of the Star Wars universe.
So one thing about the story, very similar to Obi-Wan, is the idea of, and even Jedi Fallen Order, I think it's said by one of the Inquisitors, right? The Jedi may be out there trying to hide, but they can't hide for long, because eventually they use the Force and they show people who they truly are, right? And that's what happens. It seems like she's doing just fine working on this hay farm, and then do they have to be so blatant with how they use the Force? That's my question. Do they always have to be posed?
And why is she holding the pose for so long?
Yeah,
I would have been like
cleared.
Instead, she's like standing there forever, and people rush over to the girl to help her up, and the girl's like looking over and through the crowd sees it, and Ahsoka's still like, huh? Oh, you're okay? Okay. But yes, I agree with you. That is strange. But we see a little bit, I think, that ties into Andor, of this kid who's like super loyal to the Empire. And he thinks that because he's super loyal, he'll be like rewarded. And it's like, no.
Here's your reward.
Yeah. Like it's you're everyone is disposable. Like
Yeah.
there's no loyalty, there's no honor, nothing.
I mean, even from Darth Vader down, right? Everyone's disposable.
Yes.
Hmm. What do you think of the series overall?
Overall, I enjoyed it.
I'm glad they released it all at once. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I don't think that it was something that like every week I would have been hyped for of like, oh, another one's coming out. I think probably the Dooku Yaddle one was my favorite one. Um, the first Dooku one that with Padawan Qui-Gon was giving me a lot of vibes from of like that Visions, those Visions shorts,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
the anime things that were like it was very kind of slow paced, gave off one of those vibes. But
Was that Liam Neeson in the adult Qui-Gon?
it sounded like it. If it
Yeah.
wasn't, it sounded just like him.
Look that up.
But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth a watch. I don't know that I'm going to be like going back to rewatch them all the time.
Yeah, Qui-Gon
But
voiced it.
Liam Neeson voiced it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sorry. Liam Neeson did.
Nice.
Ian voiced Darth Sidious.
They probably got Liam when he was on set in the volume doing the Obi-Wan show. They're like, hey, record these lines real quick.
Darth Vader. He's not in the show. Ashley Eckstein did Ahsoka. Anyway. Bryce Dallas Howard did Yaddle. Huh.
Oh, that's interesting. That didn't sound anything like her. That was a good job.
Yeah. Who's Pav T? They're saying Jania Iden Versio did Pav T. Who's
That
Pav
was
T?
Ahsoka's mom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it. Cool. Okay.
But yeah, what'd you think overall of the Tales of the Jedi?
Fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you like it? Did I like it better or worse than Visions? I liked Visions a lot. I really loved Visions. I want them to give more of that.
Well, they're doing a season 2, they said.
Oh, good.
But Visions to me was like very hit and miss. Some of them
Oh,
were like
yeah.
not
But
good.
their hits were fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there was just a lot more variation in the styles and stuff, so it was like more exciting and engaging.
Yeah.
This was all obviously very standardized.
I just think some of the stories didn't have to be told. Like Ahsoka as a baby, that seemed odd. And then Ahsoka learning how to fight clone troopers seemed weird. I agree with you. The Dooku stuff was by far the best. And then the post Ahsoka stuff was good too. Like I liked that.
But even the post, I think that the Ahsoka episodes were absolutely not really necessary.
Yeah.
The Dooku episodes were much more interesting, just to see when he's still part of the Jedi Order, but his slow conversion to, join Palpatine.
Same as Anakin, right? The slow. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Anyway, that ends this episode of Dad's a Dagobah. We appreciate you sticking around, Sean. We have spoken.
This is the way, and we'll see you next time on the Dads of
Dagobah.
Dagobah.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.